is Danielle Davis, and I read, write, and roller skate in Los Angeles. Welcome to this writer's life where we peek into process. This episode contains a writer personality quiz. So my hope is that this is a fun tool for you to use, for you to get to know yourself as a writer, to think of yourself as a writer, and get to know your approach to the writing process and what you bring to the table and sort of what makes you tick as a creator. There are a few things that you can keep in mind with this writer personality quiz. The first one is that none of this is set in stone. It's not official in any way because I just made it up. So I made up these 6 writing personality types based on my own experience of writing and my own observations. The second thing you can keep in mind is that there is no value judgment around these. There's no right way to be a writer. There's no wrong way to be a writer. There's no better or worse or good or bad. That just doesn't exist. We all bring our own unique makeups and backgrounds and personalities to the writing process. And that's really quite a beautiful thing. So there's no one that's better than the other. These are all just possible ways that you're a writer. And then the third thing is that hopefully you'll resonate with one of these writer personality types. It's possible that none of them will feel like a fit for you. It's also possible that more than one will feel like a fit for you. And then we'll see what the quiz says. There might be a dominant one, or there might be several that sort of feel like they fit the bill for how you are as a writer. So here's what you can do. You can pause this video, and in the show notes, there's a PDF that contains the quiz, the key, and descriptions of each writer personality type. So you can take that quiz and then come back and I will do a description of each writer personality type as well as a strategy to help with that particular one. The other way that you can do this is we'll put the quiz up on the screen as well, so you can take it yourself or with a group that way during the video if you want to. Here are the 6 writing personality types I've come up with in no particular order. The first one is the racer. If you are a racer, it probably means that you're a pretty fast writer. You're efficient in your writing. And it also means that you get to the finish line quite quickly and you're thinking about that finish line. And here's the deal. I feel like most writers are thinking about that finish line, right? It's a very common thing to want to be finished with a writing project. One strategy for you that you could just experiment with is to perhaps the next time you're going to work on a writing project, rather than starting right away, you could instead slow down for a minute and see if you could plan a little bit. Maybe use a story map and see if maybe plotting out or planning your story might help you in the process so that as you go, you're making sure to flesh out and deepen where you can. You could also try focusing on revision a little bit and seeing if you can go back and deepen a character or a description or some beat in the story that you want to sort of spend a little bit more time with or make really unfold in a particular way. The next writing personality type is the drifter. So you might be a drifter if you have a really active mind or active body and you like to be doing different things all the time. And it might mean that it can be a challenge to focus on writing, especially for a long period of time. So this is another one that most writers in the world can totally relate to, that sense of wanting to drift to something else and finding it a little bit difficult to concentrate. I know that for me, in my own writing practice, I have to cordon my phone off in another room so that I keep myself from every time I write a sentence checking my phone. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So this is a common thing. So if you also are a drifter in this way, it could be difficult sometimes to focus on a story, especially for a long period of time. So one strategy for this is to try setting a timer for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and write just for that time. Afterwards, you can set the timer again for 5 or 10 minutes and then go do something else that you want to do, something active with your mind or body. And then you could always return to writing and sort of keep doing this over and over again in 5 or 10-minute increments in one day or over, let's say, the span of a week. And you'd be surprised and amazed at how much writing you can accomplish in these short periods of time. The next writing personality type is the tinkerer. If you are a tinkerer, it probably means that you like to tinker with your stories. So that's great because that means you're revising, right? You're going back and revising a story, and revision is such a giant part of the writing process. It might also mean that it could be a challenge for you to ever feel like a story is really finished, like it's really sort of ready for you to let it go into the world and be finished with it. So one strategy that might be helpful to you that you could experiment with is to work on a story, let's say for 2 weeks. Maybe you have revised it a bunch, maybe you've put it aside and then gone back to it. At the end of that 2 weeks, just decide, I'm finished with it, I'm done, no matter what. And then you can publish it. And what I mean by that is you could copy it over in new handwriting, or if it's in the computer, you could print it out, you could bind it or put it in a folder or something like that. And then if you feel comfortable, you could also share it with someone that you trust. And in that way, you'll be publishing it and you'll be celebrating the accomplishment of writing it and feeling like this is really complete. The next writer personality type is the planner. So this is something that I resonate with. If you're a planner, it probably means that you really like to have a roadmap. So a story map might be one of your favorite things, right? You like to kind of know where you're going and you like to have those beats planned out and plotted out. And in order to sit down to write, you like to sort of know what's in front of you. I know that for me, that's really comforting to know what's going to happen next before I approach that part of the story. But I encourage you as a strategy to possibly try, maybe just try it once, even when you don't know what's going to happen next, you could still potentially approach the blank page and then see what happens when you just jump right in without necessarily knowing what's going to happen next. If you just write sentence after sentence, what happens? The worst that can happen is you can't think of any sentences, right? And that's okay too. You can then just put it aside for a while. You could go on a walk and see if something comes to you, if that writer's mind or the bowerbird that I talk about in the process episode sort of tells you what's next in the story. The next writer personality type is the dreamer. If you're a dreamer, it probably means that you like the adventure of writing and coming up with new ideas all the time. It might be that you are bursting at the seams with ideas. And that's such a wonderful feeling, right? Having a new, fresh idea for a story to pursue. It might also mean that you don't always stick to one story, right? Or finish that story because something else is sort of beckoning to you in that imagination that you have. So I have a strategy for you, and that is to pick one of your story ideas, just one, and set a timer for 15 minutes. And for that 15 minutes, commit to just writing that story. And that way, even if another story idea beckons to you, calls to you, or you have a new one, you can log it away and you can write it down and you can know that you can get to it another time. And in this way, you might be able to bring a story all the way to a close and stick with it and finish that story despite having other ideas. You can see how that works for you. The last writing personality type is the doubter. And I will disclose to you that this is my strongest writer personality type. And I also have a feeling that if you polled 10 or 100 or 1,000 professional writers, they would all say that they experience self-doubt about writing from time to time as well. So if you're a doubter, that might be what you feel sometimes when you approach a writing project. So it could come in a couple of different ways. One might be, you might feel like, I don't have anything to write. Who am I to write? Another one might be that you feel like, well, I do have something to write, or I feel like I have something to say, but the process is really hard and I'm overwhelmed and I don't think I can do it. I sometimes have both of those flavors of self-doubt. And this is such a common thing that I actually made a whole episode about overcoming self-doubt if you want to check that one out. So for our purposes here, a strategy I encourage you to experiment with is to simply write anyway. Because here's the deal. Your voice and every person's voice is totally unique. Your voice comes from your own makeup and background and experience and who you are. So if you tune into that and express that, that is a very, very precious thing. So try writing anyway. See if that self-doubt potentially gets quieter or smaller. And even if it doesn't, observe what it feels like to be writing and observe what it feels like after you've written. So those are all 6 of the writing personality types. I have the PDF in the show notes that has the quiz, the key, as well as those descriptions and a strategy for you. And again, I hope that this is just a fun tool for you to use to explore your own writer's life, to think of yourself as a writer, and perhaps learn more about your own approach and know ways that might help you in that approach as well, because there's no right way to be a writer, and we all bring strengths and challenges to anything that we approach in life, and of course approaching writing as well. So have fun with this. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here on This Writer's Life. I hope that you'll subscribe and join me for future episodes. Parents and educators, please visit my website where you can sign up for my newsletter, and that way you'll get new episodes delivered right to your inbox, as well as a corresponding PDF if there is one.
Hi everyone, I'm Rajani LaRocca, and I'm the author of Midsummer's Mayhem and 7 Golden Rings, which are a middle grade novel and a picture book. And Midsummer's Mayhem can be described as A Midsummer Night's Dream meets Cupcake Wars, about an 11-year-old girl who loves to bake, who wants to win a local baking contest, but all kinds of strange things keep happening around her and she can't figure out why. And 7 Golden Rings is set in ancient India, and it's about a boy who wants to win a place with the Raja, that means the king, with the Raja's musical troupe as a singer, but he needs to figure out how to make the money that he has last long enough to stay there, to audition. So it involves a math puzzle and music. My advice to young writers is, first of all, read a lot, because when you read a lot, you absorb so much about what is good about writing. And the other thing I would say when you're reading is to pay attention to what you like and why, because later on you can try and figure out how the author did the things that you like that made you interested in a character or made you not able to stop turning pages. So it's really cool to learn from other authors by reading published books. The other thing I would say is that, you know, sometimes when we write, especially when we're younger, we feel like, you know, not enough interesting stuff has happened in our lives. So how are we going to write stuff that's interesting? I have to tell you that as a grown-up now who's writing for kids, what I've realized is that the time in my life when I was young, when I was your age, so many interesting things happened. I mean, I didn't go to another planet or encounter any kind of magic or anything like that, but the real feelings that you have when you're a kid are really, really important. So much so that so many of my books, in fact, all of the books that I've written so far, involve real feelings that I had when I was a kid. So I think what's interesting is that as writers, we tell the truth through writing fiction. So what I mean by that is that if you can tap into something that is real, like a feeling that you've had, it doesn't have to be the same situation that you write about, but the feeling that you have, whether it's jealousy or really pure joy or sadness over something, if you take that emotion and you put it into your character or the situation that you're writing about, it's gonna feel true, even though it's in a made-up story. And that's what is always really, really satisfying to read about. So that's my advice to you. Good luck writing, have fun reading, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.